So I changed the title a little bit to reflect the narrative that I developed. So it's called The Story of the Last Romanov Czars as told by their fabulous Faberge eggs. 69 fabulous eggs were created by the House of Faberge between 1885 and 1917. It is thought that 57 survived the times. 54 Faberge eggs were made for the royal family. These were called the imperial eggs. Each took 1 to 2 years to complete. Other eggs were created for other royals and wealthy families in Europe. Each egg was a unique artistic masterpiece and a work of extraordinary craftsmanship. Each egg was also obscenely expensive. The 32-year tradition of the creation of the Faberge Easter egg was started by Tsar Alexander III and continued by his son, Tsar Nicholas II. Tsar Alexander III was born in 1845 and he died in 1894. He was Emperor of Russia, King of Poland, and Grand Duke of Finland. Due to the fact that there were no major wars during his reign, he was called the peacemaker. Alexander freed the serfs in 1861, but that simply was not enough to relieve the suffering of the poor. He ascended the throne after the assassination of his father in 1881. It was he who commissioned the first Faberge egg. Tsar Nicholas II, the son of Alexander III, was born in 1862 and was assassinated in 1917. He was given the nickname of Nicholas the Bloody by his political adversaries because of his anti-Semitic pogroms and the violent suppression of the 1905 Russian Revolution. He was also known for the execution of political opponents and perceived as responsible for the disaster of the Russo-Japanese War of 1904-1905. And his armies were woefully ill-prepared for war against Germany in World War I. Nicholas was the last Tsar, but he was not the last Romanov to run a government. That honor goes to Prince Paul Romanov Ilyinsky, the three-time mayor of our own Palm Beach. He was the great-grandson of Alexander II and the first cousin of Nicholas II. Peter Carl Faberge was the founder of the House of Faberge, famous for its Easter eggs made for the Romanovs using precious metals and gemstones. In 1882, Carl was awarded the title of Master Goldsmith. His work on a replica of an ancient gold bangle brought him to the attention of Tsar Alexander III. His creation of that first Faberge egg was such a hit with the Empress that he secured the commission to create new eggs each Easter, a tradition which continued for 32 years into the reign of the son of Alexander, the Tsar Nicholas II. While Tsar Alexander had the idea of an Easter egg worthy of a Tsar, it was left to the master jeweler Peter Carl Faberge to create it. The Tsars only had one demand. Every egg had to contain a surprise inside. Other than that, Faberge had total artistic freedom with boundless imagination and limitless funding. The Romanov Tsarinas were treated to the unimaginable. Faberge always made the egg a tribute to some aspect of the royal family's life, and that is why one can learn a great deal about the family's loves and passions through the fabulous Easter eggs. In 1885, Tsar Alexander III commissioned the first Faberge egg, the hen, also known as the jeweled hen egg. The Tsarina loved the hen so much that the Tsar commissioned the creation of a new egg each Easter. This egg is 2.5 inches high and 1.5 inches wide. It opens to reveal a gold yolk, inside of which is a gold hen. The hen opened up to reveal a diamond and a gold crown, which contain a ruby pendant, both of which are now lost. And there's the hen inside of the egg, and here's a close-up of the hen. The third Imperial, 1887, it's in a private collection. This egg is considered the most expensive of all the eggs, but almost got dismantled for scrap. It's a mystery of how this egg landed up in the United States. It was sold at a flea market for $2,400 and later a second time for $13,302, and it was sold for the gold and gem value. In 2012, the buyer conducted a random Google search and discovered that it was the missing third imperial Faberge egg, and it was valued at $33 million. And that made it the most expensive of all the eggs. The surprise was a 14-karat gold working watch set with small diamonds. You can see the diamonds all around. Here's a diagram of that. The egg sits on a gold pedestal and is topped with a diamond. The total height is 3 1/4 inches high. Notice the diamond right in the middle under the clock, below the clock. It is a button which allows the clock top to be opened. But the contrast. Life as a peasant in Tsar's Russia was oppressive, to say the least. In contrast with the obscene wealth of the royal family, made things seem even worse for the underclass. Most people in Russia were poor peasants called serfs who lived on land owned by wealthy landowners. Students' protest, peasant revolts, and worker strikes were common, as were assassination attempts of the Tsars. The memory of Azov, 1891, and this is located in Moscow. The egg commemorates the 9-month voyage that Nicholas and his brother, the Grand Duke George, took in 1890 on the Azov. The purpose of the trip was to broaden their outlook. However, the Grand Duke George had tuberculosis, and the trip made things worse. There was also an assassination attempt on Nicholas in Japan. Look at the details of that ship. The surprise was a miniature replica of the Azov, executed in red and yellow gold and platinum with small diamonds for windows. The ship was set on a piece of aquamarine representing the water. The name Azov appears on the ship's stern. The Rosebud, and this is located in St. Petersburg. The Emperor Nicholas II presented this egg to his wife shortly after their marriage. The multicolored gold egg is decorated with bands of rose-cut diamonds covered with a translucent enamel. Notice the string of diamonds. So every place you look, there's diamonds. The egg was set astride a delicate gold stand. The contrast. Russia had a long history of anti-Semitism. Tsar Peter the Great wanted to exterminate Jewish populations in the empire. Tsar Nicholas I, in 1825, ordered the conscription of all Jewish males beginning at the age of 12 for a 25-year service. These boys were used as frontline cannon fodder. Few survived the 25 years. Often, Jewish boys were kidnapped for military service. Jewish settlements had a quota for the number of boys they were to provide the military. Jews were blamed for the assassination of Tsar Alexander II. Pogroms and repressive legislation led to one of the largest group migrations in recorded history. 2.5 million Jews emigrated to Western Europe and the United States. The Protocols of the Learned Elders of Zion was written by a Russian intelligence agent in Paris and was published in 1903. It was used as proof of the subversive nature of Judaism and justification of anti-Semitic policies. The Protocols claimed that there was a Jewish cabal for taking over the world. Although it was a proven fraud, it continues even today to be referenced by neo-Nazis around the world as their justification of their hatred of Jewish people. 12 monograms, 1896, and this is in Washington, D.C. This egg is also known as Alexander III portrait's egg. It was presented to the mother of Tsar Nicholas II as an Easter present. The egg commemorates her deceased husband, Tsar Alexander II. Excuse me, the third. The egg, you can see the different panels of the egg. The egg was inspired, okay. The egg was inspired by the coronation of Tsar Nicholas II this is the imperial coronation egg, 1896. The throne used in the coronation of Nicholas was the throne of Tsar Michael I. It was inset with 870 diamonds, rubies, and pearls. The throne of the Tsarina was the ivory throne of Ivan the Great, and it was also bespeckled with jewels and rare gemstones. The coronation lasted 10 days and was described as approaching Oriental proportions. The population was promised free food and gifts, which attracted a huge crowd, a crowd far beyond the planned preparations. The peasants, seeking the free food and gifts, were surrounded by barricades. The desperate pushing and shoving to get the free giveaways resulted in the deaths of an estimated 5,000 people. The newspapers were silent and the festivities went on as planned. The surprise in the coronation egg was a removable gold miniature coach, a replica of the 1793 coach of Catherine the Great. The coach is less than 4 inches long. The upholstery of the interior of the coach was reproduced in enamel. The coach is fitted with an engraved rock crystal windows. The imperial crown in rose diamonds and 6 double-headed eagles sit astride the coach. The coach has moving wheels, opening doors, an actual C-spring shock absorbers, and a tiny folding step chair. The coach was so true to life that this miniature was used as a reference to restore the actual real coach. The cockerel. The cockerel, also known as the cuckoo clock egg, was a gift from Tsar Nicholas to his wife. The egg is a rendition of an 18th and 19th century singing bird clocks. In 2007, it sold for $18,500,000. The egg has a button at the top rear of the egg that, when depressed, causes a rooster to rise out, crowing on a gold platform. The timepiece was, of course, fully functional, and you can see the rooster on the top of this egg. The rooster moves its wings and beak and then descends into the egg when the crowing is finished. A grill closes over the rooster as after it descends. At the top of the grill is the date 1900 inscribed beneath a diamond. The cockerel egg is the first of 4 singing bird mechanisms. The Kachina Palace. This is in Maryland. The egg has a pearl-encrusted shell of gold, enamel, and silver-gilt diamonds, rock crystal. It opens to reveal the Kachina Palace, a place the Romanovs called home. Tsar Alexander III found comfort and security at the Kachina Palace after the assassination of his father. Alexander spent most of his life at the Kachina Palace, and it was there that the last of the Romanov Czars, Nicholas II, spent his youth. Inside the egg was a detailed, exact replica of the palace and gardens, and there's even a statue in front of the entrance to the gardens. And this is the palace. The palace combines classical architecture with themes of a medieval castle. During the reign of Alexander, the palace became one of the favorite residences of the imperial family. Construction took 15 years. The palace suffered significant damage in World War II. It was blown up by the retreating Nazis, who also stole many of the exhibits. Reconstruction of the palace lasted 60 years. while the location and return of the stolen exhibits went on and continued even today. The palace has 900 rooms. There are rooms still closed today to the public and are in need of reconstruction. But the contrast, 4 out of 5 Russian peasant children did not live to see their 5th year. And notice the number of people in this picture who were barefoot. The Moscow Kremlin. This is located in Moscow, 1906. This is the largest of the Faberge Eggs. It was in this cathedral, where all the czars of Russia were crowned. The cathedral dome is removable, revealing finely crafted interior of the church. The carpets, icons, and high altar are made visible through 4 triple windows. The tower bears the coat of arms of the Russian Empire and the coat of arms of Moscow inset with chiming clocks. The surprise in this egg is the music box that plays 2 chants traditional Easter hymns, one of which was the favorite of Nicholas II. The egg was to be delivered in 1904, but was delayed because of the Russo-Japanese War, followed by the assassination of the favorite uncle of Nicholas. The egg was presented in 1906. The Russo-Japanese War ended in a humiliating defeat for Russia and showed that the Tsarist rule was weak and disorganized. And these are Japanese prints of that war. The Russians fought the Japanese over control of what became to be called Port Arthur. The Russians totally underestimated the power of the Japanese military and navy. This proved to be a disastrous error. The Japanese destroyed the Russian Pacific Fleet. The Russian Baltic Fleet was summoned to sail around Africa and engage the Japanese Navy. That fleet was also destroyed by the Japanese. The Russians did no better with their ground forces. The Rose Trellis in 1907. Created as a gift from Nicholas to his wife, the egg contained a surprise diamond necklace and an ivory miniature of the Tsarevich, framed in diamonds. That portrait is now lost. Crafted of gold, green, and pink enamel with diamonds, the rosebuds are made of enamel in a lattice of diamonds. You can see all the diamonds and the craftsmanship that's involved in this egg. The STANDART yacht. The yacht was manned by members of... The STANDART yacht was built by the order of the Emperor Alexander III and launched in 1895. The STANDART was fitted with ornate fixtures, making it suitable for a floating palace for the royal family. The yacht was manned by members of the Russian Imperial Navy. It displaced 5,557 tons, was 420 feet long and 52 feet wide. While it served as a floating palace for Tsar Nicholas II and his family, it was converted into a mine layer in World War II. She was scrapped in 1963. The Russian imperial family was vacationing on this yacht when they received word of the assassination of the Archduke Franz Ferdinand in Sarajevo, an assassination which led to the outbreak of World War I. There's an exact miniature of that yacht inside the egg's bubble. But the contrast. Serfs were used as beasts of burdens and considered totally dispendable. The Alexander III Equestrian. Tsar Nicholas commissioned this egg to honor his late father. It was a gift to his mother, wife of the Tsar Alexander III. A large diamond engraved with the year 1910 surmounts the egg. 2 platinum double-headed eagles are on the sides of the eggs, and they have diamond crowns. Inside is a gold medal model of the statue of Tsar Alexander III on horseback. The egg stands 6 1/8 inches high. The statue is almost 3 inches high. Surrounding the statues are 2 rows of rosebud diamonds. The 15th anniversary. These eggs, and there were 2 of them, commemorate the coronation of Tsar Nicholas II on May 26, 1896. There is no surprise in these eggs, and no explanation has been provided. The egg was purchased by Victor Veckelsberg as part of the purchase of 9 eggs that he bought from Malcolm Forbes. Victor paid $100 million for the 9. The estimated cost of the 15th anniversary egg was between $10 to $15 million. The egg has an unusual combination of gold, enamel, and diamond, but it also has 18 panels set with 16 miniature portraits. And this is another view. The Napoleonic egg, 1912. The Napoleonic egg celebrates the 100th anniversary of a battle during Napoleon's 1812 invasion of Russia. The Napoleonic egg is one of 2 of the 57 eggs for which there are drawn plans, sketch plans of the egg. The exterior, as is true of all the eggs, consists of gold, diamonds, and emeralds. The interior is lined with satin and velvet. Inside the egg is a 6-panel miniature screen. Using watercolors, the 6 panels depict the 6 regiments of the Russian army. On the reverse of each panel is the royal monogram of the Dowager Empress Maria. The winter egg, 1913. The winter egg is one of the most expensive eggs. The egg is made of rock crystal as thin as glass to assist the illusion of winter frost. The egg is decorated with platinum and 3,246 diamonds. In 2012, it sold for $9,600,000.26. The Catherine the Great egg, 1914. The egg in gold and diamonds featured pink enamel panels painted with miniature allegorical scenes. The Dowager Empress described it as, quote, the most beautiful Easter egg. Faberge brought it to me himself. In the egg were 2 Negro servants carrying a sedan chair with Catherine the Great seated inside. When you wound it up, the Negroes walk. Faberge is the greatest genius of our time, she said. It forms part of the collection of the Marjorie Merriweather Post collection in the Hillwood Museum in Washington, D.C. Here's a close-up. And then this happened. Heir to Austria's throne is slain with his wife by a Bosnian youth to avenge seizure of his country. This event led to a cascade of events like falling dominoes, which led to World War I. World War I brought great suffering to the Russian people. It brought shortages in housing, food, and fuel. Russian armies were ill-equipped and were soundly defeated. 1.7 million people died, were killed, and 5 million were injured. The Red Cross with Imperial Portraits, 1915. Commissioned by Nicholas for his wife in 1915, this egg commemorates the work of the Romanov women in the Red Cross during World War I. Inscribed on the outside are the dates 1914 and 1915 and the words, quote, greater love hath no man than this, to lay down his life for his friends. The mother of Tsar Nicholas became the president of the Red Cross in Russia. At the outbreak of World War I in 1914, Alexandria and the older daughters, Olga and Tatiana, enrolled as trainee nurses, and the imperial palaces were turned into hospitals. At the end of the war, the Dowager Empress was able to escape the massacre of the Romanovs and fled to her homeland, Denmark. The egg did not go with her. The central portrait is that of Saint Olga, the founder of Christianity in Russia. The egg measures 3.39 inches high and 2.5 inches wide. The front of the egg divides in 2 quarters. It is one of the few eggs which opens vertically. The surprise in this egg is a folding screen of 5 oval miniatures of women from the House of Romanov, each wearing a Red Cross uniform. Each portrait is painted on ivory and is situated in a mother of pearl and gold screen that folds to allow its insertion into the tiny egg. The contrast. The Russian military-industrial complex collapsed during the war. This led to insufficient supplies, ammunition, warm clothing, etc. Russian soldiers faced German machine guns with outdated rifles. Rationing of bullets often meant that Russian soldiers were allocated 3 bullets for the day. As a result, the peasant soldiers were often killed their officers and deserted en masse. A scene of such a desertion and killing of an officer was depicted in the classic book and movie Dr. Zhivago. The Order of St. George, also called the Cross of St. George. This egg was given to the mother of Tsar Nicholas II. This was the last egg the Dowager Empress received. Created during World War I, it was less elaborate than the other eggs in respect for the austerity of the war period. The Order of St. George was awarded to Nicholas and his son, the Grand Duke Alexei, during the war. The Dowager Empress Maria took the egg with her when the Russian provisional government forced her to travel to Crimea, where she fled to Denmark, and she died in 1928. And this is the Order of St. George with a gold ribbon running all around the egg. The steel military. The egg sits on 4 artillery shells and is surmounted by a gold crown. In the middle is an image of George the Conqueror in diamond framed outline. The date 1916 is encircled in a laurel wreath. Inside the egg is a steel easel bearing the royal monogram. On the easel and in gold and white enamel frame, closing a miniature of the painting depicting the Emperor Nicholas II and his son on the World War I battlefront. Incidentally, his son was under 13 years old at the time of the war. Although the egg celebrated Russian military glory, the reality was that the Russian peasant army was no match for the German professional army. The war was a total disaster for Russia. Returning soldiers were in no mood to accept the leadership of the Tsar, creating the perfect storm for a revolution. Estimated loss of the Russian military lives was 1,811,000 and 1,500,000 civilian lives. The constellation Faberge Egg was never finished. The egg marked the end of the tradition of gifting an extravagant Easter egg to the wife and or mother of one of the last 2 czars of the Romanov dynasty. The egg was never completed or presented. The unfinished egg was found in 2001 in a museum in Moscow. Work stopped on the egg with the abdication of Tsar Nicholas II. The egg was to be made of dark blue glass, silver, and opaque rock crystal, and rose-cut diamonds. The dark blue glass was engraved with the star constellation on the day of the Tsarevich's birth. After the last egg, the fall of the 300-year-old Romanov dynasty. Alexei was the sole male heir of the Romanov royal family. He was, however, cursed with the royal disease hemophilia. Here he is depicted being carried by a naval officer assigned to the boy to protect him against injury. It was in search of a cure to his pain that the family bumped into the monk, Grigori Rasputin. He was the poison pill in the monarchy. Rasputin was a lecherous libertine who was famous for his hypnotic eyes. It is thought that he hypnotized Alexei and could ease his suffering even over the phone. But Rasputin gained control of the Tsarina, who controlled her husband, Nicholas. Rumors abounded that Rasputin was sexually involved with the Tsarina. He was able to make state decisions which proved so destructive that eventually members of the royal extended family, assassinated him. And then the Tsar abdicated. The collapse of the Russian army in World War I and the 1917 revolution brought the dynasty to its knees. The members of the House of Faberge fled the country, as did the mother of Tsar Nicholas. The revolution led to a civil war in which the continued existence of the royal family was problematic to the extreme. The doomed royal family was, after all, a family. And here's a portrait of the whole family. Alexandra and Nicholas. Daughters Olga and Anastasia. Maria and Tatiana. And Alexei. This is a picture of Alexei, colorized. And the whole family suffered this. Lenin ordered the execution of the royal family. They were shot and bayoneted on the night of July 16, 1918. Their bodies, as well as their retainers, who were also executed and were taken to a forest where they were stripped naked, mutilated, and thrown into a pit. Sulfuric acid was poured over the bodies. The site was unmarked. The room of the execution had its walls torn apart to retrieve the bullets and other evidence in 1919. In 1979, the burial site was discovered by an amateur sleuth. The bones were exhumed and DNA testing confirmed the identity of the bones. In 2007, a second grave site was located bearing the remains of the children. In 1908, the remains of the Romanov family were reinterred in a state funeral. They are now located in Peter and Paul Cathedral in St. Petersburg. The entire Romanov family was canonized, and they were all elevated to sainthood by the Russian Orthodox Church in November 1st, 1981. The servants of the Romanovs were also canonized. A lesson for our times. When those in power failed to notice the contrast between the lives of the richest and the poorest in the society, eventually the poorest notice. So I thank you for your attention, and the postscript, where are the eggs today? So there they are. The United States has the most eggs of any place in the world, but I'm going to give you a chance to look at this list to see where the eggs are located. And now I'm open for questions.
Okay, so I am going to allow you to unmute yourselves. And I'm going to remove that.
I just have.
Right. Go ahead, Stacy.
Did you say that Alexander III was the father of Nicholas II?
Correct.
And he was born in 1845 and Nicholas was born in 1862? That would only make him 17 years old.
Well, that's the information I had. He died at 40 some odd years old, and he died of kidney disorder. But if that's a date that I need to check, I'll take a look at that. Thank you.
I mean, it's possible, of course, but that seems awfully young to have been a father.
Well, I will take a look at that.
Unless I heard the numbers wrong.
1845, he died 1894.
Okay, but when was his son born?
When was who born?
His son.
His Nicholas II was born in 1868.
Oh, 1868. I thought you said 1862. Okay. Okay, sorry.
Okay.
Anybody else have any questions? Okay, Gloria, go ahead, and then Hannah, and then Harriet.
Can you hear me?
Go ahead, Gloria.
You can hear me?
Yes, very
Okay.
big. Yeah, low.
First of all, Geoff, that was absolutely super fantastic. I compliment you for all the work you must have done. And also, as far as the work, how many craftsmen worked on each egg? That is just so phenomenal.
They had a whole factory going. They had over 100 craftsmen, all specialists, working together.
That's absolutely phenomenal. And I remember a line from Fiddler where Tevye said, "Keep the Tsar way far away from us." I'll leave it with that.
One of the issues with being a czar was the whole issue of assassinations.
Oh,
And there were attempted assassinations and actual assassinations all the time.
it just goes to show you money isn't everything.
You got that right.
Thank
Okay,
you. Thank you.
Thank you, Gloria. Hannah, go ahead.
Geoff, you mentioned what the eggs were, are worth now, but at the time when they were processed and they were given to the Tsar, what was the cost of them? Can you give us like an average amount of course they're all so different.
I can't. I don't know that matter. The fact is that there was limitless funds, and so the cost was not an issue. I don't know what the czars actually paid for them.
Okay. I wonder how long it took for each egg to be finished, because they're so intricate and there's so many small little pieces that go into the design. I never saw anything like it. It's amazing.
Some of the eggs took over 2 years with many craftsmen working on it simultaneously.
Wow. The diamonds, all those diamonds.
And I started this presentation in appreciation of the artistic work of the Faberge, of Carl Faberge. And while I was doing it, I suddenly realized how utterly obscene the whole thing was. Although I was attracted to it by its artistic beauty and craftsmanship, I couldn't help but notice that it was totally obscene, and that there were several stories being told at the same time. The story of the eggs, the story of the Romanov family, and the story of Russia.
The eggs are exquisite. I mean, they are just exquisite.
They are.
Wow.
Amazing.
I think Harriet was next, but I don't see her. Hold on. Give me a second, Joe. Let me see if I can find Harriet. She might have dropped off. Okay. Joe, go ahead.
I'm wondering, Jeffrey, do you know, have there been exhibitions of the Faberge eggs any place that you know of?
Please repeat the question. Do I
Do you
know
know
whether
if-
they exhibited?
Her question was,
If
her question was,
they,
okay,
go
go
ahead.
ahead, Joe. Go ahead, Joe.
if they have been exhibited anywhere, the
Yes, they've done traveling exhibits, but they're located in the various museums and private collections.
okay, I could swear that in Belgium a few years ago, I don't remember how many, I saw one of the exhibitions, and it was as you're showing, absolutely unbelievable.
Well,
Let
let me add this. If you go on Google and you Google Faberge eggs, you can actually buy replicas of them. I have two, and the replicas are amazing in their detail. I have the one with the royal coach, and it opens up and the coach comes out and the wheels turn and the whole thing, and so they have many replicas of the Faberge eggs that you can own, and they're stunning.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I had a question. I had one, there was a blue egg that you only had up for a short amount of time. It was right before the coronation egg, but it wasn't open, and you didn't mention what the surprise was inside of it. It was right before the coronation egg.
Oh, I don't,
Was it one of the earlier ones? I don't remember the name of it.
this is the 12 monograms.
You maybe,
No, I don't think so.
no.
I don't know.
It was blue. It was a royal blue, and I was just wondering what the surprise was inside that one.
I have it here. It's the it's called the 12 monograms egg, and I believe the surprise was a like a pendant and a necklace that are missing.
Oh, okay, okay. And how big was the largest egg?
It's the Moscow egg. I don't have that memorized. I have to go find it. Well, let's see where that one is. I don't have that information.
Okay, okay. But most of them were big. They were like what, 4 or 5 inches, most of the eggs in height?
There was one a little over 6 inches, and I think that must be the largest.
That must be the large one. Yeah, okay.
Some of them were only 3.5 inches with all
Right.
that stuff on them.
That detail.
Tiny.
Amazing.
It is truly remarkable what
So decadent.
they're able to do.
In reference to Joe's question, I noticed, and thank you for doing it, Jeff, that there are at least 3 or 4 in the DC area. Virginia, Baltimore, DC, and I forgot what the other one was, or the other 2 were. But I'm definitely going to make it my business next year, if I ever get to Maryland again, to go take a look at where they are. I don't know if they were traveling, those, or if they're permanent.
So there's 5 in the Virginia Museum of Fine Arts. There is the
5.
Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York has 3. Washington, D.C. has 2. Baltimore has 2.
Wow.
New Orleans has 3. Cleveland has 1.
Thank you.
I saw the ones in Virginia, in Richmond, about 25 years ago, and they may have had some others on exhibit.
Mm.
They're exquisite.
They
So
are.
Richmond, Virginia has 5, Jeff?
Mhm.
Let me look again.
Wow.
Yeah,
Virginia Museum of Fine Arts has 5.
right.
Wow.
They're gorgeous.
Mm.
Wow.
Sharon, I have another question for Jeffrey, if you don't mind.
Sure, go right ahead.
Does the Faberge Museum in St. Petersburg still exist?
Yeah. Yes, a friend of
Yeah,
mine just
I
told
mean,
me-
is it open to, I mean, can you visit it?
A friend of
Yes.
mine told me when I told about this presentation that she and her husband had traveled to St. Petersburg and saw the eggs there. But my experience has been when I do these presentations, that many times looking at them in the museum does not give you the ability to appreciate what you're looking at. For instance, I have a PowerPoint presentation on MC Escher, and I went to see the Escher display when it was in the Boca Museum of Art, and I was underwhelmed. And but when I presented, especially when I presented with my projector, you see the same thing, which is only about 10 inches tall. Now you see it like 6 feet tall, and then you get a full understanding of what what you're looking at, the amazing part of what you're looking at. So I also understand that the Mona Lisa, when people have seen that, have been underwhelmed by it because it's so small and so far
Absolutely.
away.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yep.
You have a question?
Sharon,
Go ahead.
I talk? Yes.
Yes.
I was fortunate enough to be in Russia last year, go to St. Petersburg, and we did go to Moscow, and we did see the Faberge eggs. And I don't agree with you on one thing. When you see them in reality, they are more overwhelming than you see a picture of it, because you are close enough. They're behind a acrylic
Glass.
shield. You get very, very close, and they're open, and you can see them. And the only thing I could think of is, while all this money was being spent on this magnificent stuff, the peasants were dying, and people didn't have food to eat. And Russia was, I admire all that art, but you can't help but look back and think about all the Jews and what happened in Russia while the Romanovs were very, very busy using their gold and their artistic and their diamonds. So every time I look at an egg, I admire it, but I feel sad.
Well, when I talked to Rabbi Silver, Barry, about this presentation, he asked me specifically to put some reference to what was happening to the Jews at that time. And I realized that I had left that issue out. And that's when I put in the Protocols of Learned Elders of Zion. So I had a run-in with a neo-Nazi who decided that I was Jewish. And this is in West Palm Beach. And he said, I know all about Jews. I read the Protocols of Learned Elders of Zion. And I thought to myself, why does the word schmuck come to my mind just about now? I did not say it to him because he had a SWAT sticker hanging from him.
Smart.
Everyone has an opinion, don't they?
I think Wendy Frank has her hand raised. Go ahead, Wendy.
I'm very, can you all hear me?
Ken, yes.
I'm very impressed by the presentation, all the detail, learning all those things was really neat. Obviously, with many of the dynasties, monarchs, we see it all over the world. They spend a fortune on themselves while, 90% of their people are starving. Unfortunately, that's nothing new, whether they're Jews or not Jews. I wanted to comment in terms of the eggs. I have seen some in person and they are magnificent, but I also wanted to mention I have a family member where the whole family is very crafty, and she used to make miniature eggs out of real eggs with all these intricacies that opened up and had all these things. And on a regular egg, it's half or a third of the size. And it just amazed me how people could do that detail so small. And Geoff is saying that there would be a number of craftsmen working on one egg. I don't know how several craftsmen could be working on a 4 or 5 inch egg without tripping over each other.
Well, they worked on components of it.
Right.
The people working on, let's say, the ships, were not the same people working on the shells. And there were people cutting diamonds and shaping, you know, so it all came, but it must have been an amazing job of organization.
Again, thank you for all the detail, the pictures, the information. It was wonderful.
Thank you for thanking me.